So we're going to dive into a really surprising modern political idea. But what's wild is that to really understand it, we have to look at a cautionary tale that's, get this, 2,500 years old. This isn't just a history lesson, it's about a huge question we're still wrestling with today. What's the real source of a nation's strength?
So here's the central question, the big puzzle. Would you do it? Would you trade away a trusted alliance for a single piece of territory? I mean, it sounds like a weird deal, right? But what if that island was one of the most strategically important places on the planet? And yup, that island is Greenland. In just the last few years, the idea of the United States acquiring Greenland from Denmark actually popped back into political discussions. But to really get what's at stake here, we need to jump in a time machine. And I mean, way, way back.
We're heading back to ancient Greece, to a real-life event that turned into a tragedy. A really powerful story about what can happen when a great power gets tempted by what looks like an easy prize.
Okay, so picture this. The year is 416 BC. Athens is at the absolute peak of its power, but it's locked in this long, bitter war with its rival, Sparta. Athens isn't just a city, it's the leader of a massive maritime empire.
So what was the secret to all this Athenian strength? It was something called the Delian League, basically a voluntary alliance built on mutual defense. You can pretty much think of it as an ancient version of NATO. And for 70 years, this pact had been the very foundation of Athenian security and wealth.
And then, the Athenian fleet arrives at the island of Melos. And I mean, this was a complete mismatch. On one side, you've got the massive Athenian empire, and on the other, the tiny, neutral island of Melos, which had no real military to speak of, but it was sitting in a super important strategic location. Athens gave them an ultimatum: join us or be destroyed. The Melians, though, they valued their independence and they refused. They tried to appeal to reason, to justice, to their long history of being neutral. They actually thought they could have a real conversation about principles.
This was the Athenian reply, and it's one of the most chilling lines in all of history. It's the argument of might makes right, with no sugarcoating. The Athenians basically argued that justice is only a question between equals. If you're not equal, it doesn't apply.
So, Athens made its choice. They chose force. But what was the true price of that power? Well, the answer would lead directly to the collapse of their entire empire.
Athens conquered Melos. They took the island. But in doing so, they violated the very principle their whole empire was built on. Remember, the Delian League was founded on consent, and now its leader was using pure coercion. This single act sent a shockwave through their network of allies.
Just look at this timeline of the downfall. For decades, Athens builds power through alliances. Then, in 416 BC, they choose brute force at Melos. Immediately, trust starts to crumble, and their alliances begin to fray. Just over a decade later, the Athenian Empire was completely gone, defeated by Sparta, who got help from Athens' own former allies. They won an island, but they lost everything else. All right, so now let's bring that ancient lesson crashing right into the 21st century. How on earth does the story of Athens and Melos connect to a massive ice-covered island in the North Atlantic? Well, first off, US interest in Greenland is nothing new. After buying Alaska, Secretary of State Seward tried to buy Greenland. Then, after World War II, President Truman tried again. The reason has always been the same: its immense strategic value. And today, that value is greater than ever. As the polar ice melts, new sea lanes are opening up, like the Northern Sea Route. We're talking about a shortcut that cuts travel time between Asia and Europe by weeks. The Arctic is no longer a frozen barrier, it's a new strategic arena, and you better believe rivals like Russia and China are investing heavily to try and control it. And here it is, the echo of Athens. In defending the idea of acquiring Greenland, this was the justification given. Just listen to the language. Governed by strength, governed by force, iron laws of the world. It's literally the modern version of the strong do what they can. But is that might makes right logic the only option on the table? The source material here argues that for America, there's a much more effective path, a true superpower that has nothing to do with brute force.
Now, this is so crucial. After Truman's offer to buy Greenland was rejected, the US didn't resort to force. Instead, the US and Denmark, as allies, negotiated a defense agreement. And this treaty gives the United States pretty much everything it needs for its defense in the Arctic.
And that's the big twist in our modern story. Unlike Athens, which destroyed an alliance just to get an island, the US secured its strategic position through an alliance. It achieved its goals with partnership and mutual agreement, the very thing Athens just threw away.
So why is that alliance so incredibly important? Well, just look at this data. When it comes to icebreakers, the ships that are absolutely essential for Arctic operations, Russia has a fleet of 50. The United States has just 3. On its own, the US simply can't compete in a contested Arctic.
But here's the thing, the US isn't on its own. Through NATO, it's allied with 7 other Arctic nations, including Denmark, Canada, and Norway. Together, this alliance has a massive footprint and a combined strength that far surpasses any single rival. This network of friends is America's true superpower in the region.
And this brings us right back to Thucydides. The lesson from the fall of Athens wasn't just about military might. It was that true, enduring power comes from maintaining trust and sustaining your alliances. You know, any big country can seize a piece of land. That's the easy part. But sustaining friendships, that's hard, and ultimately, it's so much more valuable.
So we end right where we began, with that fundamental question. As the ice melts and whole new arenas of competition open up, what's going to define the future? Will it be the brute force logic of Athens, or will it be the durable power of alliances? That 2,500-year-old story of Milos suggests the choice we make will define our future.